Buck Harrison and Dan Randall, who are from Brigham Young University in Local
And probably before we get started, say also Garrett here, you raise your hand, Garrett, he's also helping us develop this initiative as well in this part of this.
All right, so is this loud enough? Can everybody hear me for the most part? Great. So welcome to our session. Glad to be here. We're going to be talking about our journey through designing our own badge system, some of the things we ran up against, and some of our considerations and moving forward. So, there we go. So to start off, talking a little bit about badges, a brief overview and context so we can dive into the fun stuff. When we approached Open Badges for our course, we were really focusing on making a brand that could be transferred and have some weight to it. So we focused primarily, as most of you would as well, on building out rigorous criteria that they'd have to meet for each badge, as well as having the ability for them to provide their own evidence. So that if an employer or another school, they wouldn't have to take our word that they knew the criteria, but they could look at the evidence of the student. So those were two very big issues for us that we wanted to approach as we started designing our badges. Recently, Cheryl Grant posted an article to Hashtag called The 5 Buckets of Badge System Design. And I'm going to briefly go through these and kind of show you where we ended up to give you a better idea of what we were designing. So the first one was a new system where the badge, the learning content, as well as the technology was all brand new, designed from scratch. You have the integrated system, which had a badge system and learning content were created at the same time, but the technology already existed. Layered, where the badge system was laid on top of learning content and a technological system that existed. Responsive badge system design, which essentially had pre-existing learning content and a badge system per se, but the technology didn't really exist or was not needed. And then you have your badge first, where the badges were designed, and then once the badges were designed, you pulled in the learning content for technology. So for our system, it fell into the layered build, where we had our learning content. This was built on a pre-existing course. We had our technological system, though some additional work was needed there. But for the most part, it was built. And we just wanted to add badges to our course. So a little bit about our course. Our course is a technology integration course for pre-service secondary education teachers. It's 1 credit. So with 1 credit, we're limited on the amount of technology that we can teach and the amount of time we have with these students, which was a big concern of ours. During the course of this class, students are able to do multiple projects using specific technology. And for each of these projects, they have some autonomy in what they learn about, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, as well as some other information. And then finally, what we're really looking to help the students with in creating our entire system with badges, as well as opening it up to the public. We wanted to better assist our students at different technological abilities. So that's a little bit of context into our badge system, and I'll let Dan go from here and talk about our design.
So designing our open badge system was quite an experience, because how do you do something that people really haven't done before in a new situation like this? So we were looking to places where they already had badges. We looked to Mozilla, some of their early ideas for their webmaker badges. And we really liked this idea of a constellation system where you could earn badges, and as you earn smaller badges, you automatically are awarded larger badges, and so on and so on. And so we built that system into our systems, that concept into our system. And this was our very first iteration, and you can see kind of at the top of the screen how we had 3 major projects in the course, corresponding to these 3 color groups, blue, red, and purple. And you can see that we had some criteria listed below. Just so you can see that better, I'm taking away the criteria for the rest of these slides. So this is our starting badge system. Eventually, we decided upon this system. So you notice that we eliminated these lower level badges for 2 of the projects. Badges would have been appropriate there, but we felt that it just wasn't really added value. And so it was simpler design for our students to understand what was going on, and just seemed to work a little bit better in our processes to eliminate the lower badges for those 2 projects. We also added a few additional badges, lower level badges over here, that corresponded to smaller assignments in our class. So basically we have 3 main projects with the 3 project level badges, and we have these 3 smaller ones for the smaller assignments. But one particularly difficult thing about our badge system is that with each of our projects, we let students choose which technology they want to learn. So for instance, with the first project, Internet Communications, they could choose a couple of different technologies to learn, such as Google Sites as shown here. But with the personal technology project, there's a lot of options because they can do big technologies, they can do smaller technologies, small technologies to equal one large projects. It got really murky about how we could best integrate our current system into a badge system. And so what we ended up doing is creating 3 options within the personal technology project. One is that we created some cluster badges, which group together small technologies that maybe either they weren't worthy of a small badge on their own, or they just thematically worked really well together. And so in this instance, we have social networking that brought together Facebook, which we really didn't feel like was deserving of a badge on its own. Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google Sites, or Google Plus, excuse me. In some cases, we could issue a project level badge as well for larger technologies such as Google Earth. If any of you have ever really gotten to the deep features of Google Earth, it's a very complicated program, it can be. And so we felt that was worthy of a project level badge. But we also wanted to make it available or set up the situation where students could choose just smaller technologies that they wanted to learn that weren't necessarily grouped into any kind of predefined cluster, but simply technologies that they felt would be most useful for them. So they also had the option of just picking 3 smaller level technologies. So like I said, this is our current badge system, and we're looking to take our badge system further into the future to help extend the learning of our students. Because like Buck was saying, since it's only a 1-credit class, we really can only touch on a few technologies in our course. But the goal of our course is to really help students integrate these technologies into their classroom. And that takes additional planning and just experience in terms of how to appropriately integrate a technology. And so we're looking in the future of how we can create badges that correspond to the planning and integration of the technologies that we've already learned.
All right, so we started our badge journey when Open Badges was in beta. So we were kind of pulling as many resources as we could together. Now our course is housed in Canvas, the learning management system. However, we wanted our content to be very open. So we created a WordPress site at iptedtech.org, which is live. And this is where a bulk of the content resided. And so I'm going to kind of walk through that a little bit with you so to show a little bit how we designed this. So within the course, our secondary ed pre-service teachers are able to click and see this hierarchy. And you can tell this is what Dan was showing earlier, where we have our buckets of different types of badges that they can earn. And there's specific criteria for each student on what they need to earn. For example, internet communications, they have to learn 1 technology in there. Same with multimedia. Dan already discussed our personal, and then they have to learn every additional concept that we listed here. And so that the student right from the get-go could click through and decide, okay, I need to learn these technologies, I'll go ahead and click on one of these buttons. When they do that, they're able, for example, they're able to choose which technology they want to learn. And it doesn't matter to us. Any of these technologies will satisfy that requirement because we've designed it that way. So they're free to choose. Once they click on one of these badges here, it pulls them to this screen. Now, a quick side note, IPT EdTech as a name is something that we guard, something we want to have some weight to it, so we want to be able to control the assessment of the badges issued by IPT EdTech. Having said that, all of the tutorials that we create or find online, they're completely open, they're on YouTube, anybody can view them. Any of the actual criteria for each of our badges is completely open and free. Somebody could take it and create their own badges, modify it, remix it, whatever they'd like to do. And so really this is as open as we could make it while still attempting to create a robust brand that could be marketable for our students. The whole idea was that they could take that badge and take it to one of their employers. But you see here we do have, this is an example of where we want to go in the future. Sorry. Our technology badge, that's what we're currently issuing. We would like to get to a point where we can issue technology planning badges as well as technology integration badges. By clicking on one of these images, it would show the list of exactly what that student needs to accomplish and submit to us in order to earn the badge. And so this repository became a hub for our badge system.
Can I make a quick comment? Because I was going to talk a little bit at the end about where we want to go in the future. So looking at these 3 levels, our basic idea is that right now we're giving badges on the technology skills themselves. The planning level would be, can you plan how to use this technology in an effective way as a teacher? So can you integrate the technical skill with some pedagogical knowledge and content knowledge about how I would actually use this technology as a teacher in my classroom? And then the integration level is, can you provide evidence that you are actually implementing your plan? Can you show us your students doing this thing that you've taught them? And so that's where we want to go eventually. So we almost kind of see in our 1 credit that technology badge as being what we can provide in 1 credit, and then those other 2 levels, what we can support our teachers in doing after they get hired and they're out working as practicing teachers. We can continue to support their growth towards actual integration. That's kind of our goal.
So like Buck said, if you clicked on, for instance, the technology badge, it would bring up the criteria for earning that badge. And I've got a few lists of criteria here just so you can see what they look like. So for Google Sites, for instance, I know you can't read this and I don't expect you to, but what we have is a long list of things. And we try to incorporate all the things that the technology can do. Now, for instance, Google Sites, you can have 4 different types of pages created. We don't have every single type in here, but we have a couple. The goal here really is so that students can learn the technology well enough that we call it mastery. And what we mean by mastery really is that if a student is asked to use this technology to do something, they have the confidence and the ability to jump on there and say, okay, I don't know exactly how I can do this, but I know this tool well enough that I can find a way to get it done. So anyways, what we have here is a list of all the criteria, and next to it, we have a description of what the mastery for that criteria would look like. So this is a project level badge again, and this is a lower level badge, so one of the 3 choices they could choose for the personal technology project. And again, here's a rubric for the additional concept copyright. And I should point out that there's a quiz involved here and a discussion involved here, so it looks a little shorter than it actually is. And the quiz is not a multiple choice quiz, but it's an open-ended question quiz where they actually have to respond to some scenarios. And they also have to provide a video of them accessing Creative Commons media. So going back to this mastery approach that I suggested before, what our students do is they actually submit the work to us, and the instructor or the TA assesses it based on those criteria that we showed you, and provide feedback, both what they did well and the things that they didn't actually quite get. The student's allowed to make changes, resubmit it, and this cycle can continue as long as they want until they have earned the badge. In our course, we don't require students to earn our badges. So for instance, they could submit the project and get an 85% and say, okay, that's good enough for me, I don't really care about earning the badge. But if they want to take the extra time to make the changes we suggest, eventually they can earn that badge if they meet all of the criteria. So it's not a percentage thing, they have to meet all of them. We also say that just if a student gets paid on the project, it's theoretically possible that somehow they manage to get all of the criteria checked without really demonstrating mastery. We've seen that once or twice, and so that's when we go back and we adjust the criteria to try to make that better. But we reserve the right to say, okay, well, you managed to somehow meet all the criteria, but we can tell you haven't quite mastered it, so we're going to hold off on issuing the badge, and we provide feedback then about what things they would need to tweak in order to earn that badge still. So we actually built our own badge issuer because at the time that we were first getting into this, we couldn't really find an issuer that was working well for what we needed to do. And so we actually have this available on GitHub, so if anyone wants to use it, they're welcome to. But we just have all my badges built in, so we can easily select the badge we want to issue. We've been tracking them in a spreadsheet, so we just built in a spreadsheet-like interface here. And so we can just paste in the information, the name, email address, and the evidence link, and then hit a button, and we can mass issue badges to multiple people. And since our projects are usually, students are working on one project at a time, we can create all the projects, stick all the info in there for the people who earn the badges, click it, and boom, send them all off like that. So currently, these are the badges that we have available on our site, or that we have planned and are in progress of producing. And I should say that we are still working on developing our site. So the Google Sites page that we showed you is the one that's the most developed. We're still looking for more tutorials and examples that we can put on these pages to make the content a little bit better for the students. And these are the current offerings for the personal technology project badges. And you can tell there's a lot more options since that is a project that we're really trying to give them lots of options to learn lots of different technologies. And so, yeah, I'm talking about this too. So this is our open course. We use Canvas, and we have 6 sections of the course. 2 are taught online, and the others are taught in a blended model. And so one of our open courses, or one of our online courses, we decided to actually open up. A couple of reasons. First is we just like open education, and we like open movement, so we wanted to share that. Plus, we've already teaching this online course, and we've developed the content, so why not share it, right? And I know you guys will understand that. The other reason we wanted to do it is because we wanted to, Buck mentioned before that we wanted people to be able to earn our badges even though they weren't our students. And we thought that having an open online course might help facilitate that more. So people could go to the website and earn badges, but this would be more structure, more support for those people. And we hope that by issuing badges to people who weren't our students, that we could, one, just better the community, but also that would provide more, people would see our badge out there more and give it more clout, and thus it would help our students as well because people would recognize the brand. So we do actually have a truly open course, not like the moose that we were talking about in some of the keynotes. So we use a CC license that allows for the resharing and remixing and sharing. And we didn't charge for enrollment or assessment for those coming into our course who weren't BYU students. BYU students still had to pay for the credit they were getting from the university. So we had the same amount of BYU students enrolled in this online course as we normally have. The non-university students who enrolled could earn badges, but not university credit. That's very important to understand. And we had limited numbers in the course, which resulted in the instructor or TA being able to actually interact with the learners, which we felt was a really important thing. And we used online discussions and were able to provide specific feedback on assignments, since this is not scalable in the sense of edX and Coursera type of MOOCs. Of course, if we had more enrollments, eventually that would require us to have more TAs and instructors. Like I said already, we're using Canvas. BYU hasn't actually adopted Canvas as its LMS, so we just use the Free for Teacher account. And if you're not familiar with that, you can go to canvas.instructure.com and you can sign up and get your own Canvas course and start experimenting with it, which is what we did. So a couple things we really liked about Canvas and why we wanted to use it, besides the fact that it's open, is it has a great quiz system here. And we really like the fact that we can have the questions in there, but we can also auto-give feedback, just like general feedback on the questions. So students can give us an open-ended response, and we can provide specific feedback if needed, but oftentimes the general feedback that's programmed in is sufficient. Also, this is the big reason we use Canvas, is it supports asynchronous video discussion boards. And so in our class, students will actually post short videos in which they respond to prompts. So we'll present the content, they can then ask questions, or they can talk about something they thought was interesting, or respond to other prompts, and they're required to respond to other students as well. And so we were really hoping to see higher levels of interaction and create a sense of community within this group. Since we were targeting in-service teachers to take our online course, open online course, we were hoping that they would want to enroll us for free and to get earn badges. And we were really hoping to see these in-service teachers interacting with our current pre-service teachers, because we felt that could be very beneficial for both groups, particularly for our students, of course, for obvious reasons, but also we felt that there was the benefit for people who are currently out there teaching to be able to interact with people who are younger or who are maybe more technology savvy than they are. Lots of different reasons why we thought this could be a good interaction for both groups, and they could talk about real problems about trying to integrate these technologies in real classrooms instead of just talking about it in the theoretical or what I'm going to do eventually. And only a few in-service teachers made it past the first week, which is not really surprising because that's kind of how a lot of open online courses go. So that's just in a nutshell our open online course. I'll let Rick talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the future.
So we've only been doing this for about a year, so this is really new for us, and we are really excited about what we've been able to do and what we want to be able to do going forward. So we want to, as I said, design these strategy, these planning level badges, and then also these integration level badges, and create a collaboration with the State Department of Education to hopefully offer professional development credit for students or for teachers, that if they were to come back and earn these badges and interact with us, that would be great. But even if they just come earn the badges, they'll be able to earn some professional development credit for that. And this brings us to needing to find ways to scale the assessment. And if you have ideas on that, I would love to have a conversation with you, because that's a tough egg to crack. And we've got some ideas, but I don't know that we're not sure if they're good ideas yet. And so ideas about how we can scale up this assessment, because we like the idea that the badges mean something because the assessments mean something. But how do we scale that if we get quite a few more people taking it? We've thought about maybe a pay per assessment model, or maybe people can pay a minimal fee that would just allow us to hire certified TAs that know the content, know the rubrics well, and can issue those badges. So we thought about that. We want to keep it as open as possible and as low cost as possible, because that's our goal. But we need some way to facilitate being able to scale up these assessments. And being able to maintain the accuracy of these rubrics and of the assessments as they scale. And that's something we're thinking about as well. We'd also like to eventually maybe move, right now it's all housed in a WordPress, but move to a system that can better, kind of like a Khan Academy, give people ways of going through the badges and the content to be able to know what badges they should earn next and what badges they've earned in the past, and kind of manage that in kind of a dashboard kind of a way. So we're thinking about ways of doing that. Right now, if you go to the website, it looks very much like a support mechanism for a class, because that's what it's been. Even though anybody can earn the badges, it was designed to be supporting our classes. But we want to redesign that a little bit and create additional maps through the curriculum and through the content for people who aren't our students that can say, I want to find other ways of navigating through this material. And we want to do some research on this as well, looking at things like student motivation, why students get involved in this. We've had some students come up to us and say, Professor, am I allowed to earn other badges? Is that cool? I'm like, you bet, you can earn as many badges. That's what we want. We want you to get excited about this. And those are the students I'm really interested in. Why do some people get excited about this? And what do they find valuable in this badge earning experience that will then motivate them to want to earn additional badges beyond what we require for 1 credit in the class? And what makes them want to continue to learn? And how useful can this be for the professional development? And also, how will this be interpreted by their principals? Will this pay the dividend to them that we hope it will, in them being able to find employment and things like that? So, additionally, we want to be able to find ways to integrate more of what's in the course into the websites, because some of the badges, as Dan was saying, involve going into the course, participating in conversations, taking the quiz that is housed in Canvas, things like that. That's not necessarily a problem because our Canvas site is open, but we want to take that material out and actually integrate it into the website a little bit more so that people don't have to go to the course if they don't want to just to earn the badge. So that's one of the things. We do have an article that is out right now in Tech Trends. This brother came out in this recent edition, and if you email us, we can send you a link to that article as well. And here's our emails if you want to contact us about this. We're interested in ideas and collaboration, anything you have to help us do better what we're trying to do. Yeah?
You mentioned you were looking into kind of solution to replace WordPress. We're looking at something similar to Khan Academy.
Yeah.
We use WordPress and we're quite happy exactly for the reason because it can scale and it's quite flexible, so you can do anything with it. And I'm wondering, are you actually having a candidate, or are you trying different things to see what could work?
No, we've just been using WordPress right now, but we're just trying to envision if we're wanting to blow this up a little bit more, will WordPress be able to handle it? I guess you're saying yes, it can.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see your example, maybe what you've been able to put together with it.
Sure, yeah.
You know, for something, we want to be able to have people that will log in, see their personal curriculum map, their personal constellations, what they've earned, what they haven't earned, what they've started, what they're working on next. I'd love to see examples of maybe how to do that kind of a thing with WordPress. We don't have anything against WordPress.
But do you have any candidates for?
We were thinking about Drupal, just because all the other BYU websites run on Drupal, and it seemed like it had a little more oomph to it, a little more power to it. But we haven't really made that decision yet. We're still thinking about this.
Does every course learning outcome get mapped onto one of the badges?
Pretty much, except for we have one of our top outcomes for the course is an affective one. We want people to come out with a greater sense that they can learn technology, which is another reason why we like the badges, because, and we've changed this to a blended model, where they do a lot of this on their own with the tutorials that we provided, and instead of having to come to class and being required to, they do as much as they can online with the tutorials and the badges and the rubrics, and then they come to our class to just receive mentoring on the stuff that they need help on. We have kind of open labs is what we do. So that's one of our key outcomes, and that one doesn't have a badge associated to it, but all the technical outcomes have badges associated with
Okay, so you're teaching this as a hybrid class,
them.
where students are kind of working at their own pace?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they come in and get help during the week in labs that we provide each week. So, any other questions? Which has been great. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I really want to do this, but I'm having trouble imagining how much course content equals a badge.
So that's a great question. So someone might go to our rubrics and say, well, I think this rubric should have additional things on it, additional criteria. Because this was built primarily to support our class, everything in our mind is thinking about homework load. So like we teach Google Sites over 3 weeks, it's 1 credit, so about 2 hours of homework. Our Google Sites badge should take you about 4 to 6 hours to complete.
Okay.
And so that's how we think about it. You can maybe do more stuff with it, but we keep it to that because it's meant to support our students. And then other people that can take it can. But yeah, we think about it always in terms of our students' homework load.
Okay, we got to stop there.
Okay, thank you guys.